inside the overthinking brain. ACT1, the 2 a.m. trap. There is a specific kind of exhaustion that you won't find in any medical manual, yet it is quietly draining millions of people out there, every single night. The clock strikes exactly 2 a.m. Your body is totally spent after a long day, your eyes are heavy, but your brain, it refuses to shut down. It is sprinting at 100 miles an hour. You lie there, eyes closed, just about to drift off when, boom. A random sentence spoken 6 hours ago suddenly hits you. You start replaying it, reanalyzing every comma, every period, dissecting the tone they used and blaming yourself. You think to yourself that you should have said something else instead. Before you even realize what you are doing, you have already built a dozen hypothetical scenarios in your head for situations that will probably never happen in your entire life. You know what the most frustrating part is? You are completely aware that you are overthinking. You know it is irrational, you know it leads nowhere, but you just cannot hit the stop button. Your brain at that moment is exactly like a computer with 50 tabs open all at once, and every single one is blasting music at maximum volume. Outsiders look at you and throw out cliché advice like, just stop thinking so much, relax, go to sleep. But the truth is, having a mind without an off switch is both a cruel curse and proof of a sharp intellect. Psychologists call this phenomenon by a much more precise name, maladaptive rumination. Research from Yale University and the University of Michigan has revealed a truth that contradicts public perception. You are not weak, and you are not just being dramatic. You fall into this trap simply because your nervous system possesses an incredibly powerful pattern recognition ability. It is as sensitive as a high-tech military radar system, constantly scanning every corner, analyzing every subtext, and looking for invisible threats beneath the surface of every single interaction. Your brain is just too smart. But the catch is, this radar station never received the signal. All clear, power down. AFT2, the biological script and the outs athwart. To understand why you can't force your brain to shut up, we have to look deep inside your skull. This isn't a matter of willpower. This is a literal biological battle. From a neurological perspective, there are two main characters manipulating your emotions tonight. The first character is the prefrontal cortex. Think of it as a highly rational CEO responsible for planning and logic. The second character is the amygdala, a hot-headed security guard who sounds the alarm whenever danger is sensed. In a normal brain, when the amygdala panics and rings the bell, the prefrontal CEO immediately steps on the brakes and reassures it. Calm down, there is no real danger here. But when you get stuck in an overthinking loop, this CEO becomes completely overwhelmed and loses control. Instead of running the show, the rational CEO gets swept away by a background system called the default mode network, or DMN. You are forced to constantly dig up and review everything that happened in the past, while simultaneously breaking your back writing scripts to handle conversations that don't even exist yet in the future. It is exactly like owning a Ferrari with a massive V8 engine. Except your foot is flooring the gas pedal while the gear shift is jammed tightly in neutral. The engine roars furiously. The wheels spin out, creating enough friction to smell burning rubber. The fuel burns away completely. But your car? It doesn't move forward even a single inch. The exhaustion you feel every morning when you wake up doesn't come from hard physical labor. It comes from the immense pressure of that Ferrari engine being redlined for absolutely no reason, right inside your own head. But the burning question here is, why does a smart brain drive itself into such a terrible state of energy self-destruction? The truth might shock you a bit. Your brain is actually being manipulated by an invisible chemical addiction, dopamine. We usually know dopamine as a reward for achieving something pleasant. But biology has proven that the brain releases small doses of dopamine right during the process of trying to solve a problem, regardless of whether that problem is real or just a product of your imagination. This means every time you cook up a scenario where you argue with your boss, or every time you analyze some catastrophic risk at night, your brain is actually rewarding itself. It gets a hit of short-term dopamine from the illusion that it is handling a crisis, without caring at all whether that action yields any real-world results. The more you think, the more the brain gets rewarded with dopamine. The more dopamine it gets, the more you want to keep thinking to maintain that false sense of security. This is a classic addictive loop. That's why using pure willpower to command yourself to stop thinking and go to sleep is scientifically unrealistic. You can't use a simple command to fight an entire biological reward system running at full speed. There is a truth that is both astonishing and a bit heartbreaking. Behavioral psychology has proven that the habit of torturing your own mind at night doesn't just randomly appear when you become an adult. For the vast majority of overthinkers, this thorny root was planted deep into the ground during your childhood years. Now try taking a step back and looking at your own past. Did you have to grow up in an environment where everything around you was constantly volatile and unpredictable? It could have been a home where the adults' moods shifted like the weather, without warning. Or a place where even the smallest mistake was met with absolute fury or harsh criticism. At that time, a child's developing brain automatically activates a highly logical survival strategy. Predict everything. If you could predict your parents' anger just by listening to the heavy or light footsteps outside the door. If you could spot every tiny flaw in your homework yourself, so you wouldn't get yelled at. If you could decode a frown, a dissatisfied glance before it turned into a full-blown storm, then maybe, just maybe, you could keep yourself safe. When viewed from this perspective, your current overthinking is absolutely not a character flaw. And it's definitely not a mistake. It is an adaptive mechanism. It is the result of a highly intelligent and sensitive nervous system doing exactly what it was trained to do for years, scanning every risk around you just to keep you safe and alive. ACT3, the hidden traps and the path to freedom. Now, we need to stay sharp to unpack a highly sophisticated trap that the brain sets up. Not all types of deep thinking are the same. If you can't distinguish which state you are in, you will be locked in this maze forever. In cognitive psychology, overthinking is divided into two completely opposite states. The first state is reflective rumination. This is when you turn the lens inward to truly understand yourself, process complex emotions, and find solutions. When kept in balance, this is a literal superpower. It is the source of emotional intelligence, deep empathy, and personal growth after a fall. But the second state is the silent killer destroying you, brooding rumination. Completely different from thinking to find a solution, brooding is a totally passive state. You drown yourself in a swamp of regrets and unanswerable questions. You replay an argument hundreds of times just to chew on the resentment or to torture yourself. This is exactly when overthinking sends you the bill. It forces you to pay with sleepless nights, with analysis paralysis when facing choices, and with chronic social anxiety. The most dangerous trap is that we constantly slide back and forth between these two states without even realizing it. Why is this slip so seamless? Because when you are thinking, the brain tricks you with something called the illusion of mental progress. Since your neurons are firing constantly, it fools you into believing you are working hard to solve the problem. But in reality, you are just running on a mental treadmill. You put in tons of energy, sweating profusely, completely exhausted, but you don't actually move forward a single step. So how do we smash this invisible prison? Remember, you can't use willpower to fight the system. Instead, you have to change your relationship with those thoughts using two practical techniques. Tool number 1, cognitive diffusion. Imagine negative thoughts are like a VR headset tightly strapped to your eyes. Cognitive diffusion is the act of taking that headset off, holding it in your hands, and looking at it. In real life, change your internal vocabulary. Instead of saying, "I am a total failure," take a step back and say, "I am having the thought that I am a failure." Just by inserting the phrase, "I am having the thought that," you instantly detach yourself from that toxic stream. You are no longer the victim being swept away by the river. You have stepped onto the bank to watch the water flow past. Tool number 2. Update safety signals for your nervous system. When your mind starts spinning, immediately use physical sensory experiences to break the train of thought and drag your mind back to the present. Apply the 5-4-3-2-1 grounding technique. Find 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 sounds you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. Or even more intensely, splash freezing cold water on your face or lift a heavy weight. When you force your brain to process intense physical signals from the real world, the default mode network, DMN, is forced to hit the pause button on those imaginary conversations. You are sending a clear biological message. The environment is safe now, time to rest. Overthinking has never been a character flaw. At its deepest level, it is a battle scar of a nervous system that had to learn to stretch itself thin to protect you through a volatile world. It is proof of how resiliently you fought to survive. Your biggest challenge right now is learning to become a patient guide for your own brain. You need to teach your mind that the days of bracing for danger are over, and peace is something you absolutely deserve, without needing to stand guard all through the night. Understanding how your brain works isn't a magic wand that makes all problems disappear overnight. But at the very least, it strips those dark thoughts of their absolute power over your life. Once you call it by its right name, it is no longer your master. After exposing all these hidden corners, where do you see yourself standing? Are you leaning toward reflective growth, or are you stuck in the swamp of toxic brooding? If today's video helped you turn down even just one tab blasting music at max volume in your head, leave a comment down below, or share this with a friend, is also secretly fighting emotional storms in the middle of the night. A simple share from you right now could be the perfect lifeline for someone out there. I am Time Teachers. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so we can keep exploring the fascinating dark corners of psychology together. Live fully in this moment. For now, good night, and see you in the next video.